Hello everyone, and welcome to another episode of Drinking and Reading. Ginger tea with honey and weird tales. Sorry. Okay, so I've just been scrolling through this story. I know it's been a while since my last reading. Honestly, I just haven't had the fucking energy to read or do anything. Except go to work and feel really fucking sorry for myself. And that I did much of. Anyway, yeah, so I've just been scrolling through this story and I'm realizing how fucking long it is and kind of tedious because nothing has happened. Nothing at all. However, I think, and also this will be part 6, our 6th reading of Dimensional Doors. I was kind of led astray by the first story that we read from Hans Bock. Because that was funny, it was very brief, it was very short, it was very to the point, it was fun. This is different, yes. Anyway, so, I found where we're up to. Let's just push on, let's get it over with, because for the next reading, got a little bit of something special lined up, and I'm looking forward to that. So, sorry about my voice. Hope you can get past it. Hope I can get past it. And let's begin. And where last we left off, I fucking can't even remember what was happening, but there was no way of repairing the damaged wall. Oh, fuck. There was no... Jesus, can I even read? There was no way of repairing the damaged wall, as Langvik was due back soon. Maybe Eddie thought in panic, maybe he could sneak outside. But could he get past the Kai? Could he? I'm really hoping not to lose my voice for tomorrow, because tomorrow is the first day of my new job, and I need to talk in front of a class full, 3 classes full of people. Not the appropriate time to lose my voice. Anyway, let's push on. So yes, could he get past the guy? Could he? The instant that his hand touched the knob of the living room door, the thing in the hallway was restless. Eddie unlocked the door, opened it a crack, and looked out. The Kai hadn't moved an inch on the night that Aslanvik brought it in on a leash. What? Okay. It was intelligent, more so than a dog. If only it had more brains, Aslanvik would probably have used it for an assistant instead of Eddie. But perhaps he could not trust it with that sort of job, though its claws were more like hands than paws. Oh man, I'm hearing a lot of useless bullshit in this story. It just doesn't need to be there. Useless descriptions, useless comparisons. And then there's Eddie. Alright, yeah, anyway, something about fucking paws. Moving on. The Kai pushed at the crack of the door as though it meant to shove itself into the room. It panted, a series of short, shaky hisses. Eddie pressed his weight against the door, which gave inward now to the beast, and outward again to Eddie. What? It was nip and tuck, seesaw, the beast unable to force itself inside, and the man unable to slam the portal on it. One of the sharp-clawed hands shot around the door and swiped at Eddie's leg, ripping the trouser cloth away and furrowing the flesh beneath. Oh. Warm blood ran down Eddie's shin, and the Kai must have smelled it. It howled raucously, horribly, like I couldn't fucking possibly do right now. Oh, that's really nice though. Horribly, like a human being in the process of being mangled. It made Eddie so ill, that he forgot himself for a moment and almost permitted the thing to get inside. I bet Eddie is one of those fucking people too. He's always ill, always telling everybody about it. As he shoved against the door, he realized that if the thing really wanted to get inside, he could take a chance, fling the door wide and step aside, letting the Kai rush past him, then pelt outside and bang the door. So he tried it. Well, that's the fucking smartest thing he's done so far in the whole story. It did not work. Of course not. The Kai came bounding in, and Eddie went bounding out, but the creature had whirled and caught Eddie's wrist in its mouth as he pulled on the door to close it. A transparent A transparent grey dog lizard, looking like a curdled shadow, and it dragged Eddie back into the splendid living room, then down the hall and into the chamber of the frames. It stood guard at the entrance, grumbling at every move that Eddie made. There was nothing for the young man to do but stand and wait until it was time to let his landfic out. He opened the frame, shaking with nervousness. The giant was burdened with silk-swathed treasures as usual. "I bought you a present," he said amiably to Eddie, and then he saw the Kai at the door, the trail left on the wall by the green fire. Ooh, shit. He dropped his packages. They thudded and crashed, tinkling on the floor as his huge hands gripped Eddie's shoulders, and he shook the youth back and forth as if he were a baby. You don't really do that to a baby, though. The Kai leapt to the two, its hands on Eddie's back, awaiting the command to rip the young man apart. As Langvig shook and shook and shook him, and when he let go, Eddie hurtled across the room, tripped as he went, and sprawled on the floor. "But I thought you were big and strong, Eddie. What's going on? I thought you were a tough guy." "I'm not so fucking tough at the moment." "Not so fucking tough." Fucking Eddie. Anyway, the giant towered over him, his face no longer a mask. It was distorted with fury. "You fool! You utter fool! I ought to have known that you'd do this," he shouted, and bending, smashed his fist on Eddie's face. Why didn't he think harder about this? I mean, see what I mean, though? There's a lot of bullshit in this story. Anyway, the pain sent Eddie to his feet, his fists ready. Weak fists, but at least he was willing to fight. He aimed a blow at the big man, but the Kai pounced upon him, pulled him back to the floor. Man and beast rolled over and over, struggling. The thing's teeth met through the skin of Eddie's arm. Eddie could not repress a cry of terror. The smell of the beast, like 10-cent perfume, was an anesthetic, and he fell back unconscious. What? Oh, okay. Yes, well. When he recovered, he was in bed. Like in misery. Islamic's gonna hobble him. Let's hope. It'll be the most exciting thing that's fucking happened in the story. Anyway, as Landvik tying a knot on the bandage on Eddie's arm, he was his old self, his face without expression, but his eyes were not very reassuring. "It doesn't hurt anymore, does it?" he asked gently enough. Eddie shook his head to show that no, it didn't. "I put some salve on it, salve from Thoroia," he explained. "It soothes and heals. It will not leave much of a scar." His mouth slipped awry. "I think you've learned your lesson now. You won't try that again." What? You won't try that again? Yeah, okay. Where am I? I've lost my spot. Oh, okay. But ever... Jesus Christ. But ever after that, Eddie knew that he was being watched. He would be cleaning the kitchen, straightening up the living room, or merely reading to kill time, and looking up, he would find Slanvik's eyes fixed on him. If Eddie tried surprising him by looking up suddenly, the giant anticipated him. Eddie's such a fucking idiot. Anyway. It's one in every anyway. Yes. But Eddie knew that he was he was on probation. Sometimes sometimes he thought that it would be best to wait until Slanvik was outside shopping and then run into the hall of entrances, open a frame, and dash as far as he could within, so far that as Slanvik would never find him. But what kind of world would he find himself inside? Would he be able to get along in it, or would he die there? Worse still, Slanvik had only to seal Eddie into a frame, and there Eddie would be imprisoned for life. There it was. Hadn't Slanvik promised Eddie a world all his own? What had happened to Eddie's predecessor, the man whom Slanvik had dismissed? You haven't figured it out by now? You fucking wondering about that? You dumb shit. Fuck. Oh man, still so much more to go. Oh man. Okay, so it's gonna be alright. Just read a little bit more. There's gonna be part 6, and then I guess there's gonna be a part 7. Let's see how much we can get through tonight. The next time that Slanvik was away, Eddie pried open the bedroom window, then clipped the nails off close to their heads and hammered them back in. The window looked as if it were still nailed shut, but it would open readily. Now he could climb the air shaft as soon as he had logged Slanvik into the picture. All well and good, only the giant was taking no chances, so that Eddie had to try making his escape by night. Yeah, and that was no easy trick, getting up the air shaft. Eddie sat on the windowsill, his feet just touching the wall opposite. He braced himself with his hands and shrugged to the masonry beside the window. And slowly up, his legs began to tremble. He rested by digging his fingers into the brickwork and gulping deep breaths. It was black underneath him. He wondered how far he would fall, and whether the drop would kill him. He mustn't fall, Slanvik mustn't hear him. Up and up and up. Hours, years, yeah. Centuries, probably. The sky was still very far away, like the end of this story. But now the air was fresher. He was close to the top, and now he was there, now on the roof, under a clear sky's starlight. Hans, Perhaps he had made more noise than he thought. He'd better get away, but pronto! He hurried over the roof, clambered over the low wall to another roof, searched around for a fire escape. He found one, poised on its rungs, looking down. He was in the business section of the city. The streets were dark, but he knew where he was. There was little traffic down below, a few trucks, then a taxi, then a private car, then nothing. Had he heard a movement on the roof? He peered through the murk. Slanvik was coming. The giant must have missed him or heard him. He stared down the rungs to the iron grill stairway that zigzagged down the building. And Slanvik followed. Once the giant paused, whispered fiercely, "Come back! Come back, you!" But Eddie scrambled down regardless. He was on the stair now. The giant paused, began to climb upward again. Was he going to meet Eddie down in the street with the Kai? Someone was down on the fire escape, someone smoking a cigarette. Eddie could see the tiny red glow. He stopped, but had to go on. Slanvik! And then, out of breath. Fuck. Oh. He is very soothing. It's very nice. And then, reaching the level of the smoker, he found that no one was on the fire escape after all. The small point of red light hung in the air, a red firefly. He passed it and hurried down, and it followed him. Yeah. And was no glow bug, surely. It was something sent by Islamic. Yeah. No shit, right? Eddie had to unhook the iron ladder and lower it to the sidewalk. He made special note of the address. The giant had not reached the street yet. Eddie fled over the walk without any definite objective. Oh, my goodness. All that he wanted just then was to get away from the giant. Yeah, we all do. We all do. Get away from this story. Okay. Excuse me. There were no shops open, no restaurants. Everything in that sector was closed for the night. Farther on, perhaps, where there were theatres and hotels, there might be some place of refuge. And always the red light followed him. It followed him, and it cast off sound vibrations too high in pitch for Eddie to hear. Okay. Did it communicate telepathically with Islamic, informing him at where Eddie was? For Eddie detected a rhythmic pad of feet behind him, as if a large cat were stalking him. He turned, glancing back. It was the guy! Oh no, yeah, really? Was it? Why'd you turn around? God. If only the streets were not deserted. If only there was someone whom Eddie could shout for help. And then he realized that others could not save him. Why? The beast could not kill him in front of a dozen witnesses. And after hearing their story, the listener would explain, "Oh, go on, there ain't no such animal." If the Kai left any witnesses... ... It was dawning closer, its teeth perpetually grinning behind the transparent lips. Yuck. It growled, but did not fly at its prey. It kept pace with Eddie. Or perhaps Aslanvik had ordered it not to kill, only to capture, to herd Eddie back to the giant's quarters. Yet that was... Yes, that was it! For now it was at his heels, and now... was lopping around in front of him, stopping in his path. Its fangs' jaws menaced him with... When warily he tried to pass it. Why isn't anybody else seeing that? I mean, it's not invisible. Fuck, this story's done. Okay. A little bit more. I'm gonna push on because I want to finish the fucking story. Okay. Inspiration came to Eddie at the sight of a parked car by the curb. Really? He angled over to it, praying that its door would open. The door, however, was locked, but the window was partly down. The Kai halted beside Eddie, sniffing. Eddie crammed a hand through the opening, squeezed his arm through, fell down. His finger just touched the catch, which unlocked the door. He pulled it open. Buddy? Oh, hey, buddy. Come in. Hi. Hey. What are you doing? Yes. The unexpected happened. Eddie had intended getting into the car, slamming the door and waiting for help, but the Kai bounded in ahead of him. If Eddie wanted to get into the vehicle, the Kai had no objections. It would simply get inside with him. Cat and mouse. Ah, Tommy, buddy, hi. Okay. Good boy. Good boy. A cat and mouse. So Eddie simply slammed the door, imprisoning the beast. But judging from the vigour with which it banged against the car's window, it was not imprisoned for very long. Eddie had better start moving. He had forgotten the red glow, but as he looked up, he saw it hovering over him, keeping measure with him. Fuck, every step of the way. Treated to every step of the way. There was a loud crackling. The Kai had injured the window. Buddy, I'm closing the door. Eddie ran, his feet Tic-tacking briskly, he turned a corner and observed a glow of light from a plate glass window. A beer parlour! Like a bar. A beer parlour. Injured windows. Shit. I really just want to get to the end of this story. He stopped at his door, staring within. It was crowded. Safety in numbers. ... He pushed against the door and went in. The red gleam hung in the air outside, awaiting his return, and then he had seen Danny, and that was all. ... Buddy. Go on then. Go on. Go on. Oh. Go on, out you go. I realise this story has gone on for way too long. This part has gone on for way too long, but I just want to get to the end. Buddy! What? You're being annoying. You're being annoying. Everything's being annoying. Yes, he told Danny. That's all. And now, do you believe me? Well, never mind. Don't answer. Only promise me this, that you'll keep the ring, and that someday you'll look up Aslanvik's address and go there with a bunch of cops. Yeah, tell me about it, buddy. Tell me about it. And Danny threw up a demurring hand. Wait, you sound as if you're going back to Aslanvik. Yes, I am. There's nothing else to do. If you're serious about this whole business, you could telephone the police. They'll escort you out of danger. Hi, buddy. Escort you out of danger. Eddie laughed. You think so? Suppose the guy becomes impatient and breaks into here. Yeah, suppose that. Suppose anything happens. Think of the hell it would raise. How the fuck would you know? Because that's right, buddy. Because it's out there, waiting for me. It's gotten loose by now, I know it. He glanced toward the door. If it should be impatient and come in, what would you have? A dead Eddie and a lot of wild stories of some big beast that broke in and then ran away, ... Man. Yeah, I think I'm going to stop for now, buddy. I don't think I want to read any more tonight. I've still got a bit to go. Still got a fucking bit to go. Oh, not too much. Not too much, buddy. Alright, I think I'm going to read to the end and just get this out of the way. That's right, buddy. Okay, you ought to try it. You'd be safer in jail, as Lanvik couldn't reach you there. Eddie raised his brows. Was this Danny humouring him? I told you about the red light, didn't I? And the fire that gushed from the frame. Aslanvik could reach me anywhere. Fire can pass through iron bars. He twitched, foretasting death. It's been the longest foretasting ever. Foretasting. Foretasting injured windows. Beer parlour. Yes, I'm learning a lot from this story. A lot. Okay, yeah, anyway. He twitched, foretasting death. No, I'm safest back with Aslanvik. He'll banish me into one of his worlds, and then I'll be freed when you come with the police and open the frame with that ring. A few tear gas bombs ought to keep Aslanvik too busy to put up much of a defense. This is the stupidest fucking plan I've ever heard. Danny pointed to the door. Those people coming in, they don't seem to have noticed anything waiting outside. No, you fool. Are they expecting to see anything hiding out there? Do you think that Aslanvik's creature is sitting in bright light where anyone can see them? Him? It? Them? Yeah. Yeah, you might want to use its correct anyway. Better not do that. Eddie tipped his glass, finishing his drink. Well, you can't say that I haven't tried. You think this over. No, I don't want the ring back. You keep it. You're not going to phone for help then? I've been in here too long. We've all been been in here too long. I've been in here too long as it is. I can't take the chance of having that thing break in here. My fault anyway. No use in endangering others. Yeah, now you say that. You're an idiot. Here, Rose. You think I'm drunk. Listen, if you keep the ring and it bothers your conscience, you'll remember me and the address, 61 Broome Street. A side door in the alley. Thanks for listening and good night. I'll be seeing you, I hope. He stood up, swayed slightly, and eyed his feet in surprise. Gosh, I guess I am drunk at that. My feet feel a little queer. He nodded an extra farewell at Danny and started out. Danny, ring in hand, half rose, haunted by the look in the fellow's eyes. But Eddie went straight out. Danny shrugged and sat down again. Yeah, I don't give a fuck either. Suddenly, he jumped up, hurried to the door, past the indifferent gantlet of drinkers, and stepped outside. There was no trace of Eddie Foster, no man dwindling in the distance, faintly limned by streetlights, and no Kai. Oh well, Danny said, going back in, but he was uneasy. If only he had not accepted the ring. At every sight of it, in the days following, he remembered Eddie. Finally, he did go to Broome Street The Broome Street. I don't give a shit. Yes, there was an alleyway door, and on the door was a sign. Loft to let. Will remodel to suit. And then the realtor's office address. The rental agency, a mousy girl, looked listlessly through a grubby card index. Yes, the loft had been rented recently, but the name was not as Landvik. It was Thomas. She could show Danny the place if he liked, and he liked. Her untidy superior gave her leave from the office, and so they visited the loft. There was the odour of cheap incense in the hall, but upstairs was only a vast single room. There had been partitions, the agency girl said, but they had been ripped away. The last tenant had even walled up the windows. Imagine! No, she didn't know of the forwarding address. She'd only seen the tenant once and paid his rent by mail. He was a big blonde man. Well, there Danny was. It might have been a true story at that. Focus, this is a really long reading. Well, there Danny was. It might have been a true story at that. He still had the ring. There was the place where his Landvik had been living, but that was all. What in the name of hell could Danny do, except get a drink? Yes, what indeed? Fucking cheers. He stopped at the first bar he saw and had several. What would you have done? Oh, really? Fucked if I know. Fucked if I know anything. Well, there you have it. Part 6 and the longest reading of Weird Tales we've ever had so far. And probably ever will again. I just really wanted to get through that stupid story. And we did. We got through it. Yeah. I'm sorry. I don't know what else to say. But I hope to some extent you enjoyed this reading. I didn't enjoy reading it tonight, but I'm glad we've finished. Now we can move on to something hopefully a little more fun. Why not? Next will be coffee for sure. Yeah, so anyway, I don't know, I think I said in my last video, but I don't think anyone's fucking watched it. I don't know, maybe they have. I hope they have. Like I said in my last video, I am moving the Weird Tales readings to Friday. I don't know, I'm still working out my times, but I want to do a Weird Tales reading once a week and a crochet video once a week. That's what I'm hoping to achieve. I should probably stop talking now and just, you know, save the talking for tomorrow. Yeah, okay. So like I said, I have something special planned for the next Weird Tales reading. I hope you can join me for that. If you like these readings, please give them a like. If you want to hear more, although I can imagine this particular reading wouldn't convince you that you wanted to hear more. But you know, anyway, please subscribe if you want. That would be great. You don't have to say you subscribed forever, you know, you can just subscribe, and if you don't enjoy it, you can just unsubscribe. Fuck, that's really negative, and that's not how I want to be. If you want to join me, that'd be great. I'm gonna stop now. Thanks for joining me.